Okay, hello everyone again. Welcome to the last episode of the Tower Babble podcast for this season, season 3, episode 10. Mhysa, right, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Last episode of the Game of Thrones breakdown, not the podcast itself.
Yeah, the Tower Babble Game of Thrones podcast for season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then we might do some extra content for earlier seasons because we weren't around for season 1 and season 2. So who knows? That's not off the table. But
sure.
we'll let you know if we do. But this week was really busy, so we'll get right into it. I didn't say jump. You notice that? I didn't say jump.
I know,
right
but it's essentially the same. But I know what you mean.
Well, what would you say? How would you say it, Dan? What would you do?
So we will begin now.
No, that's not as exciting. I don't like that.
Super excited when you said it the first time.
Well, I think most people are.
Okay.
Arya, and it starts with back of the twins, and we're watching the rest of the Stark army being slaughtered. And Roose Bolton on the roof. Is that what it started? Right with Roose Bolton walking up to.
It didn't start with Roose Bolton. I'm pretty sure it started with Arya, but yeah, Roose Bolton does walk up onto like the top of the one of the twins there and watches the catastrophe. But yeah, Arya comes to, she awakens, and the first thing she sees is her brother's body with his direwolf's head sewn on top. So that's terrible.
Like she just sees the most terrible things. Like it's
that wasn't good. That was just uncomfortable for me to watch too. Like I felt just bad. Like that.
Yeah. She's seen her dad's beheading, and now she's seen her brother on a pike. So. Yep.
She's not in a good place.
No. And which we see quickly. Like they get out somehow. I guess they escape.
Because the Hound's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, he's a badass, a bamf, if you will.
Yeah.
And so they're traveling through the like I don't know where they're going, doesn't it? They don't actually say.
Yeah, they don't say. That's not made clear.
Yeah, but they pass a group of Frey soldiers talking about how they got the head on top of, like, the direwolf head on top of Rob's body or whatever, right? And Arya doesn't like it, obviously, and then like does this little girl routine and then kills the guy.
Yep, she murders him.
Yeah, she didn't have a plan for the rest of them.
She just was like, she's at the end of her rope, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think she really even, like, you could tell she doesn't really even care on her face. She was just she had to do that for her brother's sake. Like, she wasn't thinking about anything else.
Well, she was pretty brutal too. Like,
yeah.
And then I guess she took the Hound's knife without him even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she used that coin that she got from
Jaqen H'ghar.
Jaqen H'ghar.
Nope. You said it right.
No, I'm gonna say it like that. As a ploy, and then drops it, and then stabs. Man, that scene was like. She'd killed someone before, right? But
she's never. Kid. Yeah, she killed the kid, but she never. Like, she killed the kid because she had to.
Yeah, and it was an accident.
It wasn't necessarily an accident, but it was self-defense. Like, and she was very, like, surprised by it herself. This one was much more intentional and much more. It was more murder. There was no self-defense about it, right? She went out of her way to kill this dude.
Yeah, and it leads into what Melisandre said a couple episodes ago. About,
like, she sees a great darkness inside of her.
Yeah.
Which wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense because you can kind of see, like, I mean, know how
you have to understand, like, she's a young kid seeing all these things, like, that's going to have an effect on her too.
How well adjusted can you really be after seeing two of your family members murdered? Like, you're probably not going to turn out really well. After that, this episode was super busy.
It did jump around a lot.
Yeah, I'd say probably slightly anticlimactic as far as.
Oh, I definitely would agree with that. But like, I understand why. Like, they had to kind of finish off, like, just like give you a little bit of closure with everyone's story, so you know where people are going into the next season. Because you couldn't, like, with Daenerys, for example. I guess we'll talk about what happened with her later. But like, you couldn't end her story the way it ended last episode, because then there would be too many questions for people to wait till next season.
Yeah.
For something like what happened.
Well, we'll get to her stuff later. Like, yeah. So we travel to. I guess, are they still in? They're at the wall now because they're at the Night Fort. Where
talking about Bran?
Bran and
Hodor and Mira and Jojen.
Yes. And what's his Summer? No.
And Summer's his dog. Yeah.
Okay, Summer. Okay. Um, he tells a story when they're camped out in the night fort about
The Rat King.
who used to live in the night fort, or
He was a cook in the night fort, and they were entertaining the king at the time. And it's he didn't say what happened necessarily, what really happened between the two, but the cook didn't like the king, so he decided to murder his son, bake him into a pie, blah blah blah. And like the gods punished him for doing this, not because he killed his son, not because he fed it to the king, but because he disobeyed the laws of guest rights and the laws of hospitality, and that's very sacred to the old gods and the new.
okay. So which obviously ties into what happened.
Ties into what happened at the Red Wedding. They made that clear when they had the salt and bread in the beginning of the last episode.
Although it wasn't made clear, but it was.
Well, you recognize that, like that's what that.
It was
signifies.
shown for a reason, yeah.
Yeah. But it transitioned right from him telling that story to Walder Frey just eating and gloating
While they're cleaning.
cleaning the blood. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they head back there, and Sam and Gilly appear at the night fort. They come up through a well or something.
Yeah, there's a little well. That whole sequence in the books, like he tells like a bunch of ghost stories, but like you're meant to believe that it's like because you are believing in more the supernatural element of the show.
Yeah, so
Like that could be some sort of crazy monster that lives in the night fort because it's been abandoned for however many years. So it's you're led to believe that, and I believe in the show
okay.
you are like that's what some people must have been thinking. I would assume.
Well, it's something scary going on.
And then yeah, Sam and Gillian, they lead them to the way out through the Black Gate. Which also, side note, in the book, the Black Gate is like a talking gate that only lets men of the Night's Watch through. That's why it's called the Black Gate. That's why Sam has to lead them through. But I can understand why that doesn't work for TV.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I'm perfectly okay with that omission. I just want to throw it in there.
What? Why?
It's like Kate. Like it's like halfway down the well. It's like not all the way at the bottom, and like only a member of the Night's Watch can find it. And then it's a door that Sam has to talk to, and it has like a mouth, and then its mouth opens, and they go through it.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Although the actual tunnel itself looked pretty cool, and you could see like the direwolf in the background at the exit. Their story for next season is going to be really interesting to watch because we know what's going on over there, and it's like a crippled guy, some dude that gets seizures, and just a huge dude, but he's not like he's
mentally challenged.
Yeah, exactly. And then one girl who's
she's got a bow.
Exactly. So that doesn't bode well. Although they did get dragon glass, right? So that's important.
Yeah, Sam gave them a couple little dragon glass spear or daggers and arrowheads,
which I thought was an interesting little thing because now we found out why he just left that other one because he had more.
He had
apparently.
More.
Which
but
we didn't know.
Still pick it up. Like
it's clearly important.
So that was the end of Bran's story for this season.
Yeah, they send them off.
He's on the other side of the wall, and like it's very unclear where he's going or what his intentions are. He knows that there's a quote unquote three-eyed raven north of the wall that he has to see, whatever that means.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Is there actually? Okay, that's the thing. I feel like you know this, but a three-eyed raven is probably more symbolism than anything, probably, and there probably isn't an actual three-eyed raven somewhere, but
probably.
I mean, if in the book there's a talking gate, it could be a three-eyed raven. So
yeah, it could be anything, yeah. But yeah, Bran's story is very open-ended at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Arya. Actually, I'll just say you talked about Arya earlier. You mentioned that they didn't make it clear where she's headed. She's still with the Hound. She's stuck with the Hound, who's someone she hates. So he's still kind of protected or whatever. But like, they're not anything close to friends. So like, where are they going? They're going away from the twins, but to where? And where is he taking her? What is he going to do with her?
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea. It does not make clear what. There's not even a hint of it.
So maybe this episode didn't answer any of the questions.
That one.
Now that I think about it,
not a huge one, but like that one's kind of like weird. Like why you wouldn't even say have him say something like after they killed those guys, like okay, well, let's get out of here and head here, even though it might be kind of cheesy, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
But like even like okay, like even like just think about it as a viewer. Where does she have left to go?
yeah, I have no idea.
Who's gonna take her? The like her uncle and grandfather and everybody from Riverrun are gone. Her mother and father gone. Winterfell's gone. Everybody, all of her allies in the north are gone. She has no allies in the south or anywhere else.
Yeah, out of well, I guess that.
If you think really carefully, there's one, but I can't tell you because I know that happens.
Oh, no. Is it? Well, actually, I don't know. Is it? What's the name of that place that what's his name, or that Rickon's going to?
Rickon's going to the Last Hearth. That's the home of the Umbers. It's called Last Hearth because it's the last stronghold before the Wall in the north, like the last seated house or whatever. But that's very far away from where Arya is.
Okay, that's fair. But that would that be a place that she could go?
Well, yeah, because the Last Hearth, the reason that Rickon's going there is because it hasn't been attacked by the Ironborn yet.
Oh.
They've only made it, like, they're more on the western side of the north. They haven't made it up that far and into, like, they weren't even supposed to go to Winterfell, right? That was the whole thing. Theon did that. He wasn't supposed to do that. He just decided to go for the big prize, and this is what happened.
Bad things happen. Speaking of Theon.
Yeah, bad things have happened to Theon.
I don't see any reason for, like...
Yeah, I'm just checking.
I don't know.
It's one of those things, like, you know, like, he did bad things and you kind of, like, hated him for what he did, but enough is enough.
It makes no sense. Okay, you know what? They've been hiding who that guy was the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
No reason to.
No, it works. It makes sense.
For what reason? What did it add?
Because
now
now it shows you, because he's Roose Bolton's bastard, so these plans were laid down, like, a long time ago. Like, Ramsay was a part of that. He was instructed to take Winterfell, and then he did what he did. And it's not clear if Roose told him to or not, but obviously Roose approves of it. And so, like, Ramsay and what he did to Winterfell is all part of Roose Bolton's plan, along with Walder Frey and then potentially Tywin Lannister. So now the Boltons have taken over as warden, like, Roose Bolton's warden of the North. They have much more power, and historically in the North, the Boltons and the Starks have always kind of feuded.
Oh, okay. Well, that's never
No,
really clear.
There's nobody and it's not really that big a deal. But, like, so right now the Boltons have completely taken over, but because that scene where Roose Bolton is talking to Walder Frey, like, he explains that he knew the whole time of what his bastard had done, and obviously there's no way Robb was ever going to be okay with that. So Roose Bolton had these plans and machinations in place a long time ago. It's just not something that happened, you know, because Tywin sent him a letter. It's something that he was, like, orchestrated to a certain extent.
I see. Makes sense. But I still don't like it.
no, nobody likes it. It's the shittiest thing that ever happened in this series.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's not what I mean. Like, I don't like that I didn't know who. I feel like it didn't really. Yes. How you put it makes sense, but I still would have.
Like, they could have revealed it earlier. They just wanted to have the reveal of his name and the Dreadfort in the same episode that you finally find out that Roose Bolton's like a bad dude that betrayed Robb.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
So in this episode, it's like all those things in one.
But you already knew he was betraying Robb 2 episodes ago when he sent what's his name back to King's Landing.
Oh, Jaime.
Jaime, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't clear. That, like, you didn't know he was necessarily betraying Robb. Like, to this on this level,
not on that level, but you knew already at that point that something was going
exactly.
on.
So they planted the seed. But, like, if they had revealed that Ramsay was his son, however many episodes ago, it probably wouldn't have been as, like, compelling. The Theon story would have been boring after that, because it would have just been him being tortured more. But you know the guy's name now.
That was only a couple episodes ago.
It wouldn't have been tied in.
Yeah, I guess.
It makes sense for them to tie it all together like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. You convinced me. So you go from Ramsay and Theon, who they're calling him. What's his name? What did he make him call himself?
Oh, he made him call him Reek.
Okay.
Because he smells bad.
And then right to the Iron Islands, where Yara and Balon get a package from. I guess, is it from the night, or is it from, like, who's actually sent from?
It's from Ramsay Bolton.
Okay.
but it's signed like with the sigil and everything of House Bolton, and I think it was even it must have been signed by Ramsay. It says signed by Ramsay, the true-born son of Roose Bolton. You know, the natural-born son of Roose
Okay.
Bolton, Warden of the North. So it was basically just like telling them to get out of the North because now the Boltons are the Wardens of the North. They want the Ironborn out. They want their uh, kingdom.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then so
And the Ironborn, because the Boltons are allied with the Lannisters now, the Ironborn are really the only threat left to them other than Stannis.
okay, well,
Stannis has
Stannis
been
is
pretty
really much of a
quiet.
threat. Yeah, well, he kind of got beat last season, so.
Yeah.
Um, so you have
But yeah, so
Balon.
Balon decides that he's basically giving up on Theon, which he already kind of had.
Yeah,
So he won't go save his son. He doesn't like he's not happy about it, but he's not gonna risk his position or his armies or any of that for Theon. But Yara disagrees, and Yara decides that she's gonna get some boats together and go save him.
which seems odd because I guess earlier, I guess last season, there was kind of a hint that they had that she wasn't quite as brutal as she was made out to be. But at the same time, there's never any like sign. There wasn't very few signs that made it seem like she really cared for Theon in any
Well, no,
way.
and it was more of like a sibling rivalry kind of thing because like Theon, as the boy comes back and assumes that he's the heir and assumes that he's the lastborn son, so it's his right to lead the Ironborn. But Yara's earned that through merit, not through like she was a girl, so she had to fight every step of the way to earn that, to earn the respect of the Ironborn and everything. So they butted heads, but I don't think she ever really like hated or wanted this to happen to him.
Okay, well that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It seemed we get it already now. Okay, we get the Greyjoys. It's all about
I don't think you do, man.
they're brutal. They're
I don't
brutal.
think you do.
I think I get it. I think
I'm pretty sure you think you do, but you don't. So.
well, I think they've made it pretty clear that they are a brutal people. They steal and take things, and that's all they don't. They do not sow as their words. Like that's
that much
pretty
is
badass.
that much is right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've made it even more clear this now. I mean, they're supposed to be really like adept warriors, right? They're supposed to be like fierce.
Very fierce.
Yeah.
Fierce is a good word for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you
Not necessarily the most disciplined warriors, but fierce. They're all about the glory of battle and all about, like you said, taking. Like you pay the iron price. You don't buy things. You take what you want, and if it belongs to someone else, they should be able to defend it.
okay, I get it. Okay.
Kind of like the wildlings. The wildlings have the same kind of philosophy. Like wildling women, if a dude likes a girl, he just takes her. He like grabs her by the hair and drags her away, and that's just how it works.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's what you're into, I guess. So that's whole scene ends with what we said, Yara taking her some of their best men and going off to save Theon. Very epic music. It's very inspiring, and then we move on.
See, like the reason that wasn't that big, like they weren't a part of this season. We haven't seen them since season 2, I believe.
Yeah, that's the first
Like,
time
it's
we've seen Yara.
I'm sure there are people out there that are like, well, what happened to these people? You know, they don't even really.
What have they been
Oh
doing
yeah,
the whole
that's
time?
the dude, I guess. But like, what's been? I forgot about these people. You know,
They talk about them the whole season, but they never really
do they?
show them. Yeah, they talk about the Ironborn in the north,
I
and they
feel
talk
like
about they talk about Balon.
I'm sure it is referenced, but I'm sure it's like very few and far between that they are mentioned.
Yara's never talked about. In fact, I don't think she has those scenes, but her name is never actually said the entire season. So, then we headed over into King's Landing, and we have that nice scene with Sansa and Tyrion walking through the garden, and then like with those those two lords that are like giggling or whatever.
Yeah,
and
just
like,
two
what are we
random
gonna
guys.
do? And then like they look like they're connecting on some level there, which is nice. It's a nice scene.
Because Sansa's used to people ridiculing her in the capital like that. Now that ever since Ned died and everything, Tyrion mentions that he's had that his whole life, so he's become accustomed to it and he has his own way to deal with it. So I guess on some level they do bond. They do even like joke around about it a little bit there, which is nice to see. But after that, Tyrion is called to a meeting of the small council, and Joffrey and Tywin break the news. And then, like later on, Sansa and Tyrion meet, and Sansa's obviously upset about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And it kind of ruins anything they
But
had.
let's
But
not-
before that, yeah.
Yeah. Before that, in that small council like meeting, so you have that comes in and says he's gonna, he reads the cryptic letter from
Walder Frey.
Walder Frey about, I don't even know what it said. It was like what what was the point?
I
He's
think the Rosalind caught a nice fat trout. Rosalind was the girl that Edmure married, so she
okay.
caught the trout is the sigil of the House
Yeah.
Tully. So she caught a nice fat trout and was given 2 wolf pelts for her wedding gift. So the wolf pelts are
okay.
Robb and Catelyn.
Okay. So
But like,
okay,
there's no way Tyrion would have known what that meant, right?
Yeah. So okay. So he finds out that they essentially won the war.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't really happy about it because by the way that they did it. Well,
Yeah.
I would say not happy about it, but it's kind of like he knows that the way they did it was morally wrong, I guess. And then you have Joffrey being a little shitty, saying he asked him to send Robb's head so he could serve it to Sansa at his wedding day. And then another nice scene where Tyrion tries to defend her honor, essentially.
Because it's partially his honor too at this point, and that's his wife. But yeah, like that's unnecessary.
And everyone
at
the table is like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. And
Yeah,
he's
everyone was
she's
like, oh,
she's
he's just joking.
He's just joking. He's like, I'm not joking. I'm seriously gonna serve his head on a fucking plate.
And then Tyrion once again threatens Joffrey, though. He says kings are dropping like flies, and like you shouldn't be so comfortable. I can't remember exactly what the quote is.
I wouldn't be. Everyone likes Tyrion, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's killed the next season. He sends everyone away. Tywin does, keeps Tyrion there. Why does he keep Tyrion there?
Before that, he sends Joffrey to bed.
Oh, that's right.
He sends the king to bed, and Joffrey kind of tries to assert his power, but can't. And Tywin says, take him to bed, give him some dream wine or whatever it is to help him sleep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Joffrey's just like lashing out, but he has no real power there, and it's made very clear to him.
In the very next scene is like, you think it's not like a throne, or is it, what did he say? A crown gives you power? Is that what he said?
Something like that,
yeah. So you have Tywin, who keeps Tyrion around to talk to him. Why does he keep him there to talk to him? Like, what does he have to say to him that was so important that,
He was trying, like, this whole time Tywin's been trying to basically command Tyrion to impregnate Sansa, and Tyrion won't do it.
He won't rape her.
Yeah. So that's why, like, everybody around Tyrion is telling him that he has to do this for his family. And then you get a little glimpse into Tywin's, like, his motivations in terms of it's all about his family. Like, he's an old man. He recognizes that he's not going to be around for a long time, but he's establishing a dynasty for his family. They have the north, the south. They have everything, essentially, but the Iron Islands and the Eyrie and Dorne. So he's establishing a dynasty, like I said, for his family. He's doing it all for the good of the Lannister name, and he wants Tyrion to do the same, and in his mind, that means he has to rape Sansa.
Okay. Okay, so and then he gets upset and says, like, what is it? You say you're all about the family. When have you ever done anything that wasn't just for you and it was actually for the family? And then tells him about when he was born. He's talked about when Tyrion was born before, how he killed his
Tywin never
mom.
has like that.
Yeah, he has.
He said, yeah, because you killed your mother or whatever.
Yeah.
Cersei says a few times how she wanted to kill him or whatever. But yeah, Tywin, had he not cared so much about the Lannister name, would have drowned Tyrion that day, he says.
Mm-hmm. That's true, and then it's a touching scene, I guess, as far as how ruthless that Tywin usually is.
Mm-hmm. And like, no matter how much you like your father, that's a shitty thing to hear from your father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to walk you into the ocean, let the waves carry you away, but I didn't, because you're my son, or whatever. Which is, it's a nice thing, but not really. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment.
I don't think there's anything really complimentary about it.
It's saying, well, I could have killed you, but I didn't. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like the smartest kid on the short bus, that distracted me. There was a scene somewhere in there with Tyrion talking to what's her name? The other Lannister,
Oh, Cersei.
Cersei, about her kids, right?
Yeah, like Cersei says that that's like the only thing that's kept her happy and kept her alive because like it's not really made clear, but she's hasn't been happy. She was never happy with Robert. Every day was torture for her in her mind.
Yeah.
So the kids were her only solace.
And yeah, she said she would have jumped out of the highest tower on the Red Keep if it hadn't been for her kids. Mm-hmm. Even Joffrey.
Even Joffrey, who's becoming a monster now.
Mm-hmm. And she said, like, we should have known. Like, there were signs. Like, we should have known he was going to be.
No. She didn't say that. She said that everybody who says that is wrong.
Oh.
So like everybody who said like there's plenty of monsters and like people say when he was young there were signs, but she says that's just garbage because no matter what, a mother loves her son.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It must be like her life seems really shitty. Like she's been forced into now one marriage.
You feel sorry for Cersei?
To some degree. I mean, I kind of understand why she is she is. You know,
I hate Cersei.
Yeah, she's unraveling. Like you know what I mean. She was very like good at like keeping up appearances, but she's not as good at it anymore, and it's showing. You know. She has to marry Loras now, which she's not happy about.
She says she won't though. She says she
has a plan.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. Well, that'll be interesting. That's another interesting. We'll have to wait and see for next season. So
yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that because it's not. Anyways, I can't really talk about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough.
See, so my biggest thing with this episode, like the reason I didn't like it very much, but just because I felt like, and it's probably my own fault for having been so familiar with the books, I was just expecting like the second half of the episode. I was just like, okay, like get to something good and like nice and big. But it was really just capping off all the stories. And not really even capping them off, but just like doing a quick little scene with everybody, be like, hey, this is where this person is going into next season. Like Jaime got into King's Landing. Those scenes, Jaime and Brienne arrived, and some guy didn't recognize Jaime, and then Jaime walks into Cersei's room and says hi, and she just looks at him and they're like, oh my god, it's you. But that's all we got out of that.
I actually completely forgot about that scene.
So like, it really meant nothing. They just did it because like, next season, if Jaime's already at King's Landing, that would have been confusing for the audience, right?
Yeah, well, it's a status quo thing now, so it's like there's certain things that have changed that.
But like, I feel like the majority of the episode, other than, I guess, Bran going north of the Wall and what happens with Jon and stuff, every other character arc was just like, yeah, this person's here now.
Yeah, that kind of makes
this
sense.
Is happening.
That makes yes, we know certain things have changed, but now people are in different locations with different people, so it will be interesting to see next season how that plays out because, for instance, Sam isn't on his own with Gilly for half the season now. He's at Castle Black with help of the Night's Watch, whoever's left there, right? Speaking of which, you have a scene where Sam and Gilly return to the Castle Black, right? Mm-hmm. They're talking to Meister Aemon.
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll keep Gilly as a...
See, like, and this is another, maybe, I don't know, I would say missed opportunity, because Sam and Gilly arriving back at the Wall after everything that's happened, where that kid came from should not be the most important thing. Like, Commander Mormont's dead. Everybody else that was out there is dead. Like, there are other much more important, and like the Whites attacked. Like, there are much more important things to be talking about than where this kid came from and whether or not Sam did it with this girl.
That's true. I guess
like they didn't even mention Mormont or any of that kind of stuff.
That's a good point, actually. I never thought about that. I was too concerned about like how, because they've been talking about it the whole time about like the vows and when you take the black and you give up all worldly possessions and blah blah blah.
I don't know. It's just like Sam getting back to the Wall. He after this whole raging, if he's the first one back, that's what he needs to be telling people is that Mormont and everybody else that went out with us is dead.
Well, didn't he write that into the letter?
What letter?
Into the letter when he got. So he tells him about what happened, obviously, and then Meister Aemon tells him, well, make sure all the ravens are well fed.
Yeah. So I guess you have to assume that he told them all the stuff about Mormont and stuff.
Well, no, because no, you don't have to assume it at all, because when Davos reads the letter or talks to Stannis later in the episode.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you assume that Sam obviously told him. It's just that's something that I would have thought would be the most important thing to say.
But we already know that
you want to see happen. Yeah, we
really?
know
what's he gonna say?
Aemon's reaction to it.
Yeah, but what's he gonna say? Like, oh shit! Like,
okay, so you think the scene was better with them talking about the kid?
I don't think it was bad or good. It was just necessary. We needed them to. We need to see them prepare to send out the Ravens so that we could have the scene with Davos with the letter from the Night's Watch. You know?
I guess.
Speaking of which, so in Dragonstone, you have Davos has a nice scene with.
Well, wait. In the north, you forgot about the Jon stuff.
Oh, right. Sorry. So what happens with Jon?
Jon is just randomly watering his horse, and Ygritte pops up behind him with no backup, just is there.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a little showdown. He doesn't think she'll shoot him. He tries to get on his horse, and she shoots him 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
She does. She doesn't look happy, but like she's obviously conflicted herself, and she's like,
I think she, what they say.
Time with it,
what they say about a woman scorned or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah. So she shot him a couple times. He made it away. He made it to Castle Black barely, and they're treating him or whatever. But
we don't know if he's alive.
Has to warn them that these wildlings are coming.
Yeah.
As well. So that storyline is nicely set up for next season.
So you have Sam and Jon back together at Castle Black, which is whatever because.
But
Sam is much cooler now than he was at the beginning of the season.
Because he killed one of the White Walkers, or just.
Well, no, because he seems to be his strengths. I think he's finally learning what he's good for. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. His ability isn't with the sword; it's with the books and pens and knowledge, right? And it's finally paying off in a positive way. Like he knew about the Night Fort and the way through the wall,
the Black Gate.
Yeah, and then that one part at the end, I think he's gained some respect, obviously to some degree, because when Jon, it's a small thing. I don't know if it really means that much, but when Jon collapses or whatever, and he's the one that says, "Okay, be careful, take him inside, be gentle." You know what I mean?
That was. I noticed that too. That Sam was the one giving the orders there. He wasn't necessarily shy about anything.
Yeah.
He just cared more about Jon and cared more about getting things done.
He's asserting himself now in a way. I think Gilly probably helped.
Obviously, he gained some confidence out there, going on and raging after everything he's been through. Why should he be scared about these guys going to make fun of him at Castle Black after everything that's happened?
Well, yeah, and then and Gilly's probably been pumping up his ego, telling him he's a wizard, which is funny because he say he always wanted to be a wizard when he was growing up or whatever.
Yeah, I believe he did.
And then only because he could read things on a page and know stuff, which I think is kind of crazy when you think about it. Reading is crazy. You can just read stuff and know things that are no idea.
But yeah, so that storyline is nicely set up, but at the same time, we did the majority of the ranging that went out with them are dead, right?
Or
Jon and
out
Sam
there and just killing
gone,
people,
right?
or whatever they're doing.
They're not going to be any help. There's no Lord Commander.
Mm-hmm.
They have these wildlings to the south. There's a small group of them coming up, and then they have the larger army from the north coming down. They have nowhere else to go, and then the White Walkers as well.
They have the wall, but the wall is not as strong as it's been.
Very loosely garrisoned, right?
So, do we have anything else to say about what happened in the north?
I mean, no, but that is the most intriguing. I think out of all the storylines, that's the most intriguing one for me right now.
Yeah, especially because Danny's storyline flatlined a little bit.
It was a waste of time.
Well, not just this episode, but I mean the last couple episodes, finishing off the season. Her beginning arc of the season, about 3/4 of the way through, it was really good. It got really high, and then it kind of just flatlined. And now it's been steady and kind of boring, especially today's. Yeah. But we'll get to that. So in Dragonstone, we talked that letter the raven that was sent from the wall is received. We know that Davos is now his hand is Stannis' hand to the king again or whatever. And he's reading we know he can read better. Makes a funny comment about why there's a G in night. And then
gets a letter from the Night's Watch. Yeah. So it's a good thing he learned that.
Exactly. So
because if he called it the Nigget's Watch, I don't think it would have had the same effect.
So he reads that, finds out that's really important, and that's kind of his I don't know how would you say his last he holds that so that when he lets Gendry go, he has that as his last.
I don't know if Davos did it for those reasons. I think Davos let Gendry go because he thought it was the right thing to do, and he let Stannis have the letter because he thought it was the right thing to do. He wasn't trying to save himself. He's
enough.
not the kind of, he doesn't think that way. He's not about self-preservation, especially after the Blackwater and after his son's dead, you know.
Which they
So
they never like we all knew about he had a son and his son died, but like it was never really like a big part of the show anyway. Was
not,
his
he
son.
was he wrote all those letters for Stannis and stuff. Like he was kind of like the king's protege as well, and Davos was very proud of him. In the
Yeah.
books, he has like 7 sons and whatever, but
So there's a nice scene in the dungeons with Gendry and Davos, and they talk about where they came from. They talk about Flea Bottom, right?
Yeah.
And the different like districts of King's Landing.
the poorer areas of King's
Yeah,
Landing.
so you have like
And it's just like because basically Davos tells Gendry that he can understand why he wouldn't trust nobles or
yeah.
highborns as they call them, which is fair because Gendry's been screwed over by every highborn he's ever been in contact with. But Davos kind of has too until he smuggled those things in for Stannis and Stannis knighted him.
Yeah, is the Onion Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So he frees him, sends him out on a boat, which
Because Melisandre wants to burn
yeah
Gendry
wants to kill him.
for a large sacrifice for a large reward to put Stannis on the throne. But then he gives Stannis that letter, and they all, like Melisandre even agrees with Davos that the real war, the real enemy is in the north. The White Walkers are the real enemy. The War of the Five Kings that they've been fighting this whole time means nothing if you don't
Yeah.
fight the White Walkers first, you know?
Okay, so that's cool. So she burns the letter and looks into the fire and sees something. And he makes that funny comment about that girl that you hate so much. Yeah, she saved your life today.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's an interesting like status quo. So you got now Davos and Melisandre are going to be working. Like, I mean, they already have been, but working together more closely because they have a common goal. But they'll probably have different,
I mean, they have a long way to go because their army is pretty much like gone.
devastated.
Like
Yeah,
Salador Sand and those pirates all left, right? So Davos is gonna have to try to get them back because that was him that did that. And like, where else are they gonna get men from?
well, not really. I don't know, man.
They don't have any lands in Westeros anymore. Like the Stormlands are all taken over and stuff. Everybody from like that would have pledged allegiance to Stannis is now either with the like Highgarden and the Lannisters are dead.
Okay, so Dragonstone is on the east side, right?
Yeah. It's actually like the Blackwater Bay kind of separates Dragonstone and King's Landing.
Really?
Yeah, Dragonstone is an island. It's a bit further out.
Oh, okay.
Blackwater Bay is a bay. Like King's Landing is in the bay. It's further west.
Yeah,
But like Dragonstone is
it's closer
out
than you would
past,
think.
it's not in the bay though. It's like it's out past the bay. But like it's very close.
Okay. All right. Well, and that's never really made clear. It always seems like it's so far away, and like, if you're so close, like, why wouldn't they just go and? I guess it's probably not easy to take.
Yeah, like Stannis still has an army and like it's still a fortress. You can't like as far as the Lannisters are concerned, he's not even a threat over there right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's probably something they'll deal with, but they wanted to deal with Robb 1st and they probably want to deal with the Ironborn now or something like that, right?
Even then, it's like if Ironborn are never made out to seem like they're even a huge threat either.
No, they're not. They're a threat in the north, which is why Bruce Bolton is the one who's taking action against them, because that's his domain, and he has to clear out those lands and be warden of the north.
Okay. Well, so that pretty much ties up all the storylines except for Dany's storyline. The episode ends with Dany standing on a rock, surrounded by her army, and
For some reason.
and her lieutenants. And then waiting, you're not really sure for what, and then all the
Waiting, I thought it was really stupid, but whatever. She took the city. She freed the city. She shouldn't have to wait outside for the people to come out of the city and decide like to greet her or whatever. But so like all the slaves that were freed when they took Yunkai come out and kind of surround them. And there's a tense moment where you don't know what's gonna happen, and then they start yelling Mhysa, Mhysa, and the translator, what's her name?
I don't remember.
Doesn't matter.
I thought she knew. That's the thing I don't understand, because I thought she spoke Valyrian or whatever. So
She says she speaks like 19 different languages.
oh no, I'm talking Dany. I thought she
yeah.
would. I don't
But no,
understand why
they-
she'd understand.
They weren't speaking Valyrian. They were speaking Giscari.
I see. Okay, so yeah, she translates.
So-
It means mother.
It means mother.
Okay.
So they all called her mother. She went out there. They loved her. They picked her up and brought her into the city.
Crowd surfing.
Yeah, and that's how it ended with
Yeah.
went to credits
Well,
after.
it zoomed up, dragons went rah, and then credits.
Yeah, okay, sweet. These people call their mother. That's a great way to end this
Okay,
season.
well, whatever, man. That's okay.
No, I'm really pissed off of it. It was stupid.
This, I to some degree agree with you. I mostly am upset that same with Arya's story. Now Dany's story, there's no direct, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, it just seems like it's just floundering. Like, okay, so she's been at Yunkai for the past 4 episodes anyway, so she's still there. And what's her plan? Where's she going? What does she want to do? Like, why should I care
And, like,
about seeing her next season?
They had never talked about it being like a big issue about whether she would be welcomed into the city or not.
Yeah.
Like, that was never like something she was worried about until this last episode for the last 5 minutes of it.
So I don't know.
It's not like it's whatever. If you want to know what's happening with Danny, that's fine. But it wasn't the best way to end the episode or end the season.
It could have ended any of those other scenes that capped off a storyline could have been better off.
I think you probably could have ended with the Stannis thing and like made that more epic, or ended with Jon getting back to the wall and like you wouldn't know if he's dead or not or something. I don't know, but I guess they already killed off a couple episodes. People last season.
You want an epic image to end with, right? So you have you have all those people. I don't know. What I wanted to see personally, as far as as closure for something like that, is I want to know, when is Dany finally going to try to head over to Westeros? Like, that's been her goal for so long, right?
Whole time.
She now has the means. She for sure has the means to do it now, right?
I don't know if she does.
So, is that what
I don't know if she does.
Like, I've been wanting to see what she, like, at least talk about it. Like, what is your plans here? Like, what are you doing?
Okay, so she has a decent army with the Unsullied. I don't think that army is enough to take over all of Westeros.
No, and the Second Sons now.
And the Second's not sure. So even like both of those together is not enough to take over Westeros, though.
No, probably not.
That wouldn't match the Lannister army, not even close, right?
No, not with help from the north, and
even with just the Lannister army, it would be like it wouldn't match.
Okay, so she needs more people.
Yes.
So we're. So
not only does she need people, she needs to get there. Like, she needs bows and she needs supplies to take all of her people over there. She's still pretty far away, mind you. Like,
I get it. I mean, if you could probably spend a whole season with her just on a ship if you wanted for the next season, because that's how long it would take her to get over there.
Nobody wants to see that.
No, but like, as far as like how long it would take, it would almost take a full season for her to travel from where she is now to Westeros by boat, right? It would take a long time.
It would take a long time, for sure.
Well, not a full season, but probably like half a season. She would just be on a boat. I mean, there's already one episode this season where she was just on a boat. I don't even know where she was going from or to, actually.
She was just leaving Karth, and they made it into Slaver's Bay.
Oh, okay. So now they need more boats.
Well, like, yeah, so she has this huge army, the Second Sons and the Unsullied, so she needs to transport all of them, plus whatever's left of her Khalasar, the ones that stayed loyal to her.
Very few of them, though. Right?
But there are a few, yeah, and they hate water. They're afraid of the oceans.
Oh yeah, they're all throwing up and stuff on that other boat.
Yeah. They think any water that their horses can't drink is cursed, so they won't go over the. That's why they were never that big a threat to Robert Baratheon and stuff.
That makes sense. I mean, like I asked you this before, last week maybe, about if any kings from Westeros have ever tried to go over and, like, do anything over in Essos.
But, well, no, what you asked last week was if there had ever been somebody who had taken over both Westeros and Essos.
Oh, okay.
And the answer to that is no. The Targaryens took over all of Westeros after they left Essos, and the Valyrian Empire expanded and took over all the free cities and a lot of Essos, not the entire continent. And the Targaryens were the family that made it to Dragonstone. That was as far as the Valyrian Empire made it before the Doom, which whatever that is.
Do you ever know what that is in the books, or no?
Kinda.
Okay.
It's never because nobody's alive who has witnessed it, right? It's just something that you hear in passing. You hear people mention, and like you'll hear that Valyria right now is a smoking ruin. That when they describe the Doom, the earth rose up and the seas boiled, and it's all like it's like very biblical, but like it doesn't. You don't know.
Sounds like a volcano or something.
It sounds like some sort of like geothermal, some kind of earthquake or volcano or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, that pretty much covers all the threads that got left for season 4. It's gonna be a long wait.
It's gonna be a long wait.
It's gonna be a long wait. As a whole, Dan, what did you think of the episode?
The episode, I didn't think it was that great, but the season was phenomenal. It was a really good season, better than second season.
Yeah,
And
I definitely
on par with the first. Like, but yeah, the episode itself, I understand it was busy. I understand they had a lot to get done, so it's not like it wasn't the worst episode of the season. And part of it is that I just wanted more out of it. I was just like, okay, get to something good, and it never quite got there.
Was there,
it felt like it was all filler.
Was there any? Is there any characters that we didn't see in the final? Like I don't think they didn't miss anyone as far as I know.
Well, I mean, like you could say Rickon and Asha just because they left us, but they were never major characters in the first place.
Exactly. So all the major characters were touched on. That's very usually, at least for this season, it was few of the major characters were only ever touched on in one episode. But I guess because
Sansa was like barely touched on, but she doesn't really have much to
but
do
she was
right
there.
now.
I mean, everyone was there in some degree. You know what I mean? Even if Jamie was just had like one scene,
that's true.
He had a scene.
Yeah. So it was like a recap, kind of just setting the stage for next season.
Mm-hmm. It'd be good to watch that one right before season 4 starts, even if it's just that episode, because it really ties everything in a bow right before you need to jump into whatever's going on. I wonder if season 4 is going to start like right where season 3 left off, or if they're
it will.
Yeah,
it has to.
Okay. I enjoyed this episode for like the smaller scenes for what they were, like that scene with Tyrion and Sansa. I like that scene with Tywin and Tyrion.
That was the best part. Tywin, again, like I say this a lot, but Charles Dance as Tywin just steals the show every time.
Yeah, every time.
And this episode was no exception. That was the best part of this episode.
He looms large in this series ever since he was introduced, cutting open the stomach of an elk.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the coolest way to introduce a character. He's just talking to someone, but the whole time he's just skinning an elk, which is pretty cool. As season as a whole, I think it's my favorite. I think it's better than season 1. Yeah. It's hard to explain why. Season 1 was so like it was new. Like you didn't know what to expect. Everything you had this whole sense of. So you have Sean Bean, who you think is like the main character the whole time, and then everything is twisted on its head, and that gives you, and then you finally understand how the show works or how books are written or whatever, right? And how George R. R. Martin functions and all that stuff for the first time. Season 2, you don't really get any of that, and then season.
I don't think you understand that. I don't. I've read the books twice. I don't understand how he functions.
You don't understand. No, but it's not. You know it doesn't. He doesn't function as a like.
It's not a conventional story where the hero,
exactly
saves the day in the end. It's very much you're on your toes. You don't know what to expect.
That's what I mean. When you understand how he functions, it's not by the book, which I guess a weird way of putting it because he writes a book. But season 2 didn't really have any of that. It was very
the whole season 2, the Bran and Rickon thing, where you're supposed to think they're dead for a lot longer. You're supposed to think that that's the big thing in that season.
There's a couple things in season 2 that are weird. There's certain actions that are done by certain characters that were apparently made more sense in the book but weren't done well in the show, that were confusing and made certain characters seem different than how they should actually be or how they've been portrayed for a long time. Like for instance, there's no reason to ever have Corn Halfhand. That whole thing about faking his death and all that stuff seemed like super unimportant.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, so like I can't really understand because like I know the book, so I can't really look at it with fresh eyes.
From my perspective, you have a guy, right? You have they're prisoners, okay, and then John, and they fight, and he kills him, and then he killed him, but so we should trust him now, and like none of that ever makes sense. You have to understand
who Corn Halfhand is the leader of the Shadow Tower. He's like the second in command of the entire Night's Watch, essentially.
Yeah. So what? You've seen this. You've never met these guys before, and he kills the Corn Halfhand, and you have to trust him all of a sudden. I mean,
Yeah,
It's
because like they play that up. Like Corn Halfhand plays up how he's a bastard and a traitor like his father and stuff like that. But the whole thing is Corn is instilling in John this sense of duty that he has to do this. He has to do whatever it takes, not for himself, not for his own pride or honor, but for the Night's Watch, just for the good of the Night's Watch and the good of the realm.
except that maybe is made more clear in the book. Except for in the show, it's like a
I guess I know
30-second
these
scene.
things.
Yeah. So
No, but in the show, like, there's a few times. I think you should go back and watch it. There's a few times he says stuff like, "It doesn't matter what how people like interpret our actions, as long as it like he is truly all about only protecting the realm. It doesn't matter how he's viewed or what his legacy is or any of those things, because that's what you give up if you become a member of the Night's Watch."
Okay. Well, that's one of those things, and then there's obviously when Catelyn frees Jaime.
That was dumb.
That's
yeah.
one of those
Well,
things.
not
Like,
dumb. I understand. Like they're doing it, and they're making Bailey like Littlefinger seem like he's more of like the puppeteer, and he's kind of playing even Cat, who he's professed to love before. It just doesn't happen that way in the books. In the books, Catelyn is like she's at her wit's end after having heard about Bran and Rickon, and she thinks that Robb is here fighting a war, like he could die any day. Bran and Rickon are dead. Sansa and Arya are her only children left, and she just wants them back at any cost. It doesn't matter anymore. So she does whatever she like. The only thing she has in her power to do to get them back is free Jaime.
it just makes her like seem so much of a worse of a character. Like, you think about it, like she's really like a lot of the reason a lot of like terrible shit's happened.
A lot.
Like by capturing Tyrion and starting the war and then releasing Jaime and then like a lot of
No, she screwed up hard.
Although she did tell Robb not to send Theon back to his dad. That was smart, but that was the only thing. So, do we want to do any additional content for season 1 or 2, like review the seasons as a whole on their own, or anything?
I don't know. Like, that would involve like rewatching everything.
Well, I'm gonna end up doing that anyway because I'm gonna be watching it with my girlfriend. So, at some
Amanda
point,
hasn't watched any of it.
No, she hasn't seen any episode.
Huh.
So maybe I'll watch like the first season, then do like.
I wouldn't mind doing it, but like it would like it's not something we're gonna do in a couple of weeks. It would be like
it'll be over time,
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on the podcast feed, and then when we get closer to season 4, or whatever, I'm sure there'll be times where we'll have other content up on this feed. So just keep an eye up on it. If you have any questions or want to have anything to say, as far as what you thought about this episode or this season, send them to our email address at towerbabblepodcast@gmail.com. Visit our site at towerbabblepodcast.com. And, there's Twitter. We're on Facebook, Tower Babblecast. And that pretty much covers everything. And there's YouTube as well. Google it. You'll find us. Other than that, Dan, you have anything to say about this last episode before we take a break for a while?
No. See you next season. Be excited for every season, but be excited for next season.
There's
a lot more to cover.
You said that about season 2, so just so you guys know.
I did, and like season 2 wasn't that bad. It just wasn't what it should have been.
Fair enough. All right, guys.
But this season was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and I told you to be excited for this season.
It's true,
so
but I mean, you could say that.
Be excited.
Yeah, but you could say that about anything. It's like you could guess heads on every. You can guess heads on every coin flip, and you'd be right 50% of the time.
Okay, the thing you have to realize about this season, though, like this is give or take just under halfway through the third book. This whole thing with the Red Wedding and everything that's happened that was so huge in episode 9 and 10, this is halfway. This isn't the climax of that book. This isn't even close to the end. This is the halfway point.
All right.
So like it's big stuff, and it's like obviously we're going to be talking about it for a long time. The Red Wedding is referenced a few times, but this isn't like this is still like things are still building up for that book, and that should culminate next season. That should be the second half of the book next season.
All right. Well,
give or take.
Then I'll be excited then. All right, you win.
Yeah, I'm right.
All right, guys. We'll see you next season.
Bye.
That was the Jason Yang violin cover of the Game of Thrones theme. You can find his work as Jason Yang Violin on YouTube and on Twitter.